So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session 4 on proposal development. In our last session, we saw, which was on a proposal strategy, we saw how do we strategize our proposal before the before we start developing the proposal. And we saw and we discussed that okay, it all depends on where we are in the proposal development in the entire bid management cycle, how much information we have gathered during our capture phase, what is our perspective and what is the customer's perspective about us, about the competitor. And based on all of that, what we get, whatever information we gathered, we have created a proposal strategy. And now, based on that proposal strategy, we will be working on developing the proposal. Now, even before developing the proposal, we need to understand that we have we have couple of inputs coming in from the capture phase, couple of inputs coming from the RFP and different other sources. So basically, we need to identify the inputs, and then we get. So let us see what we are going to discuss today in the proposal development strategy. And proposal development is the core activity of the entire proposal bid and proposal management life cycle, because it is ultimately the output which we deliver at the end of the life cycle is the proposal. So obviously, proposal development is the core activity. So going forward, what we will see in this session is basically how, and we know that our proposals are based on the requirements stated by the customer, the implicit requirements, the explicit requirements, and different categories of requirements. So I will see how do we identify the requirements for the proposal development. And also we will see that how do we develop the executive summary, because executive summary, because everybody, the proposal evaluators may evaluate the proposal, they will read through the all of the proposal and may evaluate or may read specific sections related to them, related to their areas of evaluation, and they will give their recommendation, but the final recommendation will come from the executive team, who will take a decision on whom to award the contract. And they possibly will be only reading the executive summary to form their opinion about the organization to whom to award. Secondly, even before even the evaluators, before reading the proposal, they also want to build a mind of what exactly is there in the proposal. So they also read through or at least glance through the executive summary, and then they get a confidence, and then they feel okay, this is something which I need to see, this is something, or this company is all about. So they form an opinion. So executive summary is basically, although it's a summary of the whatever is there in your proposal, but it's also a document which actually forms the opinion about the organization, the organization's offerings, the organization's capabilities, and everything in the mind of the evaluator or in the mind of the decision making. So it is very important that how do we develop the executive summary. And then we come into the proposal, the main body of the proposal. And the main body of the proposal has to is a proposal is not isolated, it is not in pieces, it has to be a soft of a story, in the form of a story, one leading to one scenario, leading to another scenario, leading to another scenario, and finally the climax of the entire thing. And likewise, we have to actually develop our proposal, and for that we need techniques for doing that, and the best technique for doing that is storyboarding. Although there are different ways of storyboarding and there are different templates, different mechanics of doing storyboarding, but ultimately there has to be some sequence, and storyboarding helps us in putting the sequence and putting the facts together, and tying them up, stitching them up together to make a seamless and a smoothly flowing story, which is good to read and assess by the evaluators. Or else everything would look like in jerks. Like if you give most many proposals I have seen, they like have been written by different people within the team, and each type person has got a style, each person has got a message or a theme, and they look like every section is an isolated section, and they give you little jerks like, okay, the it is not moving in a smooth way, and then at times you get, once you get into something which really does not interest you, you drop it at that moment. So we have to see that how do we sequence the proposal, and storyboard development is one of the ways in which we can do that. Another major factor of a proposal is basically the compliances. That is, every proposal requires some certain specific things to be mandatory, mentioned, and unless those mandatory things are not met, or those mandatory criteria are not met, your proposal is not evaluated any further, or you are not assessed any further. And for that we need to prepare something called a compliance checklist, and we should see. And let me tell you a fact, that most of the proposals, like if when you are submitting 10 15 proposals against an opportunity the evaluator, the evaluators first try to evaluate it based on the compliance, because their job is to reduce the number of proposals to the best for the finals. So their first job is to reject the proposals. They are not evaluating all the proposals, they are actually rejecting the proposals which are not compliant. So compliant checklist is a mandatory and is a very important factor to see that at least you move to the next levels of where your proposal is actually assessed in its full form. So that is a very important thing, compliance checklist. And then finally the outline development. That is, how are you going to structure your proposal? You have developed the story, but how is that story going to be structured? What are the different, what are the priorities you are going to set? How are the content, how is the content going to be organized and arranged within the proposal? That is something what we will look at in the outline development. So that these are all the critical areas, or the best critical best practices which are needed for any proposal development. Now, each of these areas may be linked with many other best practices also. Like outline development may be linked with the style. The storyboard development may be linked with the mock-ups. The compliance checklist may be linked with the compliance and responsiveness. So there will be links to other best practices also. But on a top level, these are the key subject areas or the competency areas which you need to focus when you're looking at the proposal development. And as regarding the APMP certification examination is considered, proposal development, as I had told earlier also, proposal development and proposal management have got the maximum number of questions. So you need to be very critical about this particular area. So let's move to the next slide. That's the requirements identification. Okay, so typically we know a RFP is nothing but a set of requirements provided by the customer to a contractor, to a vendor, to get their response to those set of requirements. Now there will be different other guidelines also provided with the in the RFP, but the core of the RFP, the core transaction actually happening between the customer and the vendor is basically the core unit is basically the requirements. So we need to identify the requirements. We need to have an approach and a best practice to identify these requirements. Now requirements in a RFP can be of different types and are of different types. There are some functional requirements, there are some technical requirements, there are some administrative requirements, there are requirements related about the organization's capability requirements, there are requirements related to the financial strength of the organization. So there are different types of requirements. Since there are different types of requirements, you cannot expect one person or the bid manager alone to understand every type of requirement. He may understand the category of the requirement, but that specifics of the requirement may not. It is very difficult for one single a person or one person in the organization or the bid manager to understand all that. So it is very necessary that you collaboratively identify and develop those requirements. And for that, the bid manager's role is to identify which category of requirement this is, and then point those requirements to the right person within the organization. Now, if in a RFP, the organization, the RFP ask has a requirement that you have to state the financial growth of your company and the financial profitability or the financial stability of your company in last 5 years. Probably you may know, okay, what has been the turnover of the company, but what about the profitability? For that, you have to reach out to the finance person. And this is a question which comes out because the company wants to because the client wants to check whether how financially stable and how financially growth oriented is your company, how are you growing in the company, how is the company growing in the market. So these questions will be directed to the finance team. There may be questions in the RFP which may ask like, okay, what has been the employee stability within your organization? Now, employee stability means how many people are actually joining your organization and how many people are leaving your organization at a point of time. Now, you may know that, okay, the attrition rate of my company is around 15%. But again, you do not know what is the stability of the people. If people are joining, then how long are they staying within the company? Now, for that, you have to reach to the HR team. For the business side, the functional side, it may be related to a specific domain. You may know which domain it relates to, but you may not know, you may not be able to identify the requirement specific to that particular domain, like a functional requirement. So you have to invite, or you have to get the functional team or the domain or the vertical team, whatever you may be calling in your organization, involved into that. So the identification and the development of the requirements should be actually done collaboratively. It should, the bid manager should not take all the requirements together and say that, okay, I will try to respond, or I know all the requirements. He should always verify it and validate it with the specifics and with the specific functions within the organization and the experts within the organization. The second thing need to done is basically to identify the customer's documentation. The customer documentation here is the RFP, the RFP documents, the supplements to the RFP, the changes to change notifications to the RFPs, and identify the anomalies and redundancies. Because many a times, what the procurement, the RFPs are published by the procurement guys of the customer, and they try to take a cookie cutter approach where they fit in a lot of standard requirements into a specific require along with the specific requirements. Now those standard requirements may not be relevant to this particular specific requirement. Like I got a RFP a couple of months back in which the customer was asking for a managed service within their premise, and there was a question in the RFP about the security policies which you follow for securing the data in in your data center. Now these two are not connected, disjointed questions, because you are asking me to manage the applications and the data within your premise, and you are asking me to state my policy of how I manage the data and how I manage security in my data center. Now, there is a disconnect. The reason behind it is that they might have taken the question from some standard IT managed services procurement guideline and included in it, and it happens, and it mostly commonly happens. Now, in such cases, we need to identify the anomalies, and there will be different types of redundancies. They will be asking the same question again and again in different sections. So, it is always better to get a clarification from the customer on such anomalies and redundancies. So we need to identify, and that this is something which the bid manager needs to do. They need to identify which are the clarifications, and if they are not able to specifically point out to the anomalies and the redundancies, they should ask the team which is identifying the requirements and developing the requirements to do that. That you have to identify if you see a anomaly or a redundancy, and we get back to the customer maybe during the pre-bid questions, while asking the pre-bid questions, or in during the pre-bid meetings, and discuss those anomalies and redundancies. And the customer customers are always happy to give a clarification on that. So that when you are finally bidding for the opportunity or developing the proposal for the opportunity for that particular RFP, you have sorted out all the anomalies and the redundancies. And as I said, like you have to raise the clarification questions, and you have to get the response from the customer, and you have to circulate back, or you have to share those responses with the proposal team also. There's a team which is identifying the requirements and which is developing the requirements. One important and very strategic thing to do is basically to create a requirements matrix. So specifically, if it is a complex bid, if it's a complex bid which is not for only one specific functional area, or one product, or one specific service, but cut across as multiple products, multiple services, multiple solutions. In that case, and there is a dependency of one on the other, in that case it is always better to build a requirements matrix. A requirements matrix is nothing but a set of the each requirement identified at at an atomic level, at a unit level, and assigning them some attributes, like what is the priority of the requirement, what is the dependency of the requirement, what is the criticality of the requirement in the overall objective, what type of requirement it is, whether it is a functional requirement or a non-functional requirement, whether it is a compliance requirement, whether it is a financial or a capability requirement. So identifying the different types of attributes for a requirement, identifying the priority of the requirement, identifying whom does that requirement relate to, which functional unit within the organization does that requirement relate to. And also, one of the strategies I generally follow is to see which evaluation criteria will that requirement link with. Because if that evaluation criteria for that requirement is very high, that means that requirement has to be addressed very in a very specific manner, so that it scores the maximum, gives the maximum score. So that is how you need to create a requirements matrix. Requirements matrix also helps in briefing the subject matter expert, because in a complex requirement you will bring in the subject matter experts, those who understand the domain, those who can give you those who can guide the proposal team on the exactly the what are the challenges or what are the expectations the customer is having from those requirements. And for briefing them, the requirements matrices helps, because you can actually categorize those requirements. So you can categorize. So suppose you are bringing in a functional domain consultant, as well as you are bringing in a enterprise architect or and a technical architect. If you have classified all these requirements in your requirements matrix, then you can put them all together in one bucket, like all functional requirements in one bucket, all technical requirements and all architecture requirements into separate buckets, and assign those buckets or use those briefings for that subject matter expert. So your requirement matrices help in briefing the subject matter experts. Now, for requirements, it is very important that you have good questioning techniques as well as listening techniques, and gain a thorough understanding of the requirements. Because if we do not understand specifically the explicit and the implicit requirements of our of the customer, we will not be able to respond back to them in our proposal with the meeting their expectations. And for that, it is very important that we ask the right types of questions. There are different types of questions we can ask, different types of questioning techniques. Actually, there are uh, like you can ask situational questions, you can ask scenario based questions, you can ask specific pointed questions, or you can ask you and remember, always use open questions, so that the customer doesn't elaborates on what exactly you are saying, and can and does not answer only yes or no. So for if you are seeking information, try to ask more open ended questions rather than close ended questions which the customer can say yes you are right, yes no you are not right. But rather tell them that yes you are right, this is what exactly we are looking at, and this is why we are looking at this, and this is how we will how we expect it to be. So if you get that answer in that, the how, why, how, and what, part, then it becomes easier for you to respond to that answer. So listening and questioning techniques are very important, and I suggest some techniques like spin, which is a very important. I have found spin techniques very important and very useful for questioning. And if you have asked the right questions and you have managed to get the right answers from the customers, which generally customers are happy to do, then you are in a much comfortable state in proposing your solution. So just go beyond the APMP guide and try to understand what are the different questioning and listening techniques, and that will be very helpful in your practical real life way of working. Uh, there are times when you're reading the RFP, you come across two requirements, and then you see, you can in between you can find out that why is that customer asking for that requirement. There is some implicit requirement that by asking this, actually he is meaning this. Now this is something what you are assuming, what we assume, but it is always suggested and it is always better that if we can validate it back with the customer, if we can loop it back with the customer and get it validated, that your question says this, and I understand that you mean to say this because you want this. Now that help that, and the customer comes back and tells you that yes, you are right, yes we were. So you know what is the customer's expectation. If you are not wrong, the customer comes back and tells you, no, this is not wrong, this is not right, this is what exactly I am expecting, and then again also you get the right information. So for us as a bid manager, it is important that we get the right customers' expectations out of the requirements, and even if we are assuming anything, we can get that assumption validated from the customer side. So always question the customer's implicit assumptions and the practices. The customer is following a practice, and the purpose of following that practice is something which you are assuming. Validate it with the customer. Then you know that okay, why is it doing that this way? And always communicate your requirements in try to break them down into the most simple understanding, communicate them verbally as well as document them, because ultimately at the end of the day, many a times I have seen the solution has been formed and proposal has been submitted, and then the proposal gets beaten up because there was some solution gap, or the solution was not exactly as per what the customer expected, and the team comes back and says that why was it like this. You might have told that okay, this is what the customer told, or this is what I heard from the customer, and then they don't believe you. They say that okay, you said so, but where was it documented? How did the solution architect get to know that this is what is the customer expected? So it is always better to not only to verbally communicate the requirement or the implicit requirements, and document the implicit requirements, but also to document them and share them with the team. So requirements identification basically helps you in understanding the specific customer's requirements, grouping them as per their priorities, as per their importance to the customer's expectations, as per the evaluation criteria of the customer on, and based on these set of requirements, you move ahead to build your proposals. You go to build your proposal and in your proposal development life cycle. So that's what all about requirements identification. Let's move to the next slide, the executive summary development. Now, as I said, the executive summary is a mandatory document, mandatory part of your proposal document, because this is the part of the proposal where you actually summarize not only what you have stated in your proposal, but also about how you want to make the customer understand about your organization, understand about your capabilities, understand your solution at a high level, and something which actually makes him more interested towards you, and move and evaluate your proposal in much more details. If your executive summary doesn't, or your executive summary fails to impress the customer, and it looks like another general talk about your organization, it does not actually appeal to the customer. He does not get influenced, or he does not get appealed to look at your proposal, because and typically in the service industry, where everybody is offering the same service, same set of service with the same sort of most of the capabilities, it really does not interest him much, or he just moves it with a sort of a checklist. Okay, there is a checklist, this company is another company, in that way. But if you have to really differentiate yourself in the customer's mind, your executive summary must be very strong. And executive summary must not only be about you, it has to be actually about the vision of the customer, the vision, the drivers of the business drivers, the changes which the customer is looking for by soliciting in new services or new solutions, and you, how you have done it, or how you are thinking you can meet those requirements, deliver those solutions, and how capable you are about for doing that, and how, what people are saying about you, the proof points that you have done that. All this should come in your executive summary. And do not wait for the executive summary. Typically, I have seen executive summaries being written by the salespeople at the end of the proposal. Rather, it should be the reverse. And APMP also suggests that executive summary should be written actually by the time your capture planning is being done. So once your capture planning has been done, or you are doing it and you have come to a point where you have identified the solution, you have identified the customer's business drivers, the expected outcomes of the customer, as well as your solution, your capability, how you have done it, your learnings from your previous engagements, all this should actually get into your executive summary. And you should actually develop the executive summary with the account manager, or the capture manager, and use that draft executive summary to guide the further proposal development. And your executive summary has to have a client focus. Many of the executive summaries I have seen talks only about the organization, the customers, the organization's capabilities, the organization's experience, and all that thing. Now, is it really relevant for the customer unless you are actually solving his problem or his objectives for soliciting that particular RFP, what is soliciting from that particular RFP? The customer is interested about his requirements, his outcomes, expected outcomes. So it is always very important to have and maintain the client focus in the executive summary. Rest all about yourself can be a support to it, but the primary focus has to be on the client side. And as like we said in the proposal strategy, that where do you stand in the sales process, how connected are you with the customer? If this is the first time you are meeting the customer, or you are submitting a proposal to the customer, it makes sense to talk about your organization. But if you are an incumbent vendor for this customer, and you have been doing that for years and ages, it does not make sense to go and tell the same story to the customer that we were established 30 years back and we have done so many great things in last 30 years. Customer has been with you for last 20 years and they have seen you growing. So it does not make sense for them to understand that. Rather spend telling them how in the last 20 years with this customer you have grown, and how you have developed or helped the customer in growing. That will be more business sensible for the evaluators and for the decision makers who will take decisions by reading the executive summary, who will form an opinion about your organization by reading the executive summary. So it depends on where the executive summary development depends on your sales process as well as your sales strategy. Be focused to organize your content in very clear, concise and persuasive manner. In that sense, that you do not need to elaborate. You do not need to elaborate in your executive summary what you are trying to say, but rather you should say it in a very concise manner where he gets the sense of what exactly you are saying. And if he needs much more information, he can go to that specific section of the executive summary and look at how you have what more details you have provided in the proposal for that section. So your executive summary needs to be very clear, concise, and persuasive. And you need to actually identify and involve the senior management within the organization, because the senior management within the organization knows and experiences the same thing like what the other senior management executive from the customer side is going to evaluate it. So involve your senior management team. I generally go out and meet, if it was a critical bid, I will go out and meet the CEO or the CFO and ask them that, okay, what would you think, or what would you like to communicate from your side to this person who is going to take, who is going to read the executive summary and think about us. And they really give very important and very strategic inputs to the executive summary. And also run your executive summary with your top management, with your senior management, to see that their views, their thoughts, the vision of your company and the vision of the customer's company are aligned. So it is, the vision alignment is a very important thing in executive development, executive summary development. And the inputs of it can come only from the top management. So do not hesitate to involve your senior management when you are preparing your executive summary, and run your draft executive summary with the senior management. Use a high level review. Your executive management does not need to be reviewed by the proposal team. The executive summary can be reviewed by the senior management, and they can say, they can include or exclude some information which you have included in the executive summary. And always prepare the executive summary in line collaboratively with the sales team, with the accounts team, accounts management team, or the capture management team, and you as a head of the proposal management team. So you need to prepare, you need to have a very high level review so that all of you are at sync. It should not be the sales has positioned the organization as something, as a very business savvy organization, and your proposal becomes a very technology savvy thing. Now this two becomes a mismatch, and the customer gets confused, or may say that, okay, they themselves don't know what exactly they are. So it's very important that you have a high level review of your executive summary with, not only with the senior management, but also within the, or within the team which is working on the executive summary, and see that everybody is in the same sync and everybody is trying to position the same thing. Your executive summary actually also becomes a like a your briefing document. It can becomes your proposal briefing tool. So when you are briefing either your proposal you are going to write in the proposal, or you are briefing your teaming partners, you have partnered with somebody, and you want to take their services also in along with your services to the customer, how you are positioning yourself, or how you are, what is the solution you are providing to the customer, what approach you are taking towards providing the solution to your customer. That same approach should be aligned with that of your partner. And to brief them, you can always share, or you can always run them through the executive summary, that this is what exactly I am trying to position with with this customer, and you also have to be aligned with this. So the alignment of the proposal team, the alignment of the partners, the alignment of the senior manager with the vision and the proposal to the customer actually can be done through the executive summary. So that's about the executive summary. You can go through the executive summary details on the in the best practices of the APMP proposal guide, and you will see that these are the mostly the uh, 4 points or 4 thoughts which you need to have. Moving to the next slide. is about the storyboard development. The storyboard development, before we get into the storyboard development, let us understand the storyboard development word itself comes from actually the Hollywood. Basically, in Hollywood, when they were running when they were making movies in the Hollywood, they were always running out of budgets, and the budget costs were running so high that the changes became so uh, there were so many changes happening, and at the time of making of the real movie, that it was and organizing and planning and executing the movie was getting so difficult that they started writing storyboards. And they found that if they had a storyboard prepared before actually writing or shooting the movie, they could sequence their their story in a much better way. And from there this word of storyboarding came. But how we use storyboards in our proposal development is a little different in a context, obviously. But if you ever try to compare a your proposal with a movie story, then you will see there are a lot of similarities also. You start with an introduction, you get into some action, and then finally you reach a climax and you reach a conclusion. So you will see a lot of similarities in a in a proposal, a proposal, a commercial proposal, and or a technical proposal, and and a Hollywood or a Bollywood movie. Now, the purpose of storyboards, and storyboards is something which is suggested by APMP as a very powerful tool. And yes, it is a very powerful tool, and more importantly, it is a very structured way of developing your proposal. Storyboard does not actually come out with your proposal, it only creates a framework for your proposal. It says that, okay, this is what I am going to say, this is how I am going to prove it, this is how I am going to do it, this is how I am going to show that I have the capability to do it, and this is how I will conclude it. So you have a sequence of certain thoughts. Now those thoughts you put together in a sort of a proposal, in a story. Now, many a time, most of the people ask me is that, do you create a proposal storyboard for every section of the proposal, or every proposal? My response to it is that if a section of a proposal can be replaced or can be populated by a boilerplate information from your organization, you may not need to necessarily create a storyboard, because you know that, okay, this information, like the customer is asking for a financial, pointed financial information, pointed financial data, or pointed data about your capabilities, how many resources you have, what is the geographic spread of your resources, what is the capability spread of your resources. Now in those scenarios, you may not need to create a storyboard. But in cases of sections where you do not have a boilerplate, or the section is about a very specific, has a very specific objective, in that case you may need to create a storyboard. And the storyboard what you create basically has to show the sequence in which you are going to present yourself to the customer, addressing the objectives of that particular section. So storyboards should be actually created at section level, and not at a proposal level, and neither at on a topic level. So if there is a section, and that section addresses is needed to address a specific objective, then you create a story around that objective, that what you understand of that objective, what is driving that objective, what solution do you have to meet those objectives, how capable are you to meet those objectives, and or to deliver those solutions, and how what you conclude that by doing that, what the customer is going to, how the objectives of the customer are going to meet. So you create a storyboard based on that. So who creates the storyboard? Obviously, it is the proposal bid manager or the proposal strategist or the team which is leading the proposal, they create the strategy. Proposal strategy is not, proposal storyboards are not created, but many people ask me that the proposal storyboard actually should be created by the proposal writers or the subject matter experts. I don't agree with that, because they know about their subject, but how the subject has to be told to the customer in context to what the customer is expecting from you or customer is expecting from that section has to be guided by the proposal manager or the capture manager, who understands how it has to be. So the proposal storyboard should be actually developed by the proposal manager or the bid manager, and given as a guidance to the proposal writers and the subject matter experts to get the information. And also again, when the proposal content comes, it should be validated back with the by the proposal manager to see that it is in line with the storyboard which you have created. Because if you don't create, if they are not in line, then there is no purpose of doing the storyboarding. And also the proposal storyboard provides you the pointers at where you can pitch your win themes. You know, in our proposal, when we were doing the proposal strategy development, we talked about the win themes, the key messages which need to go to the customer to form an opinion about us, the win themes which we want to put to the customer to tell that this is why our proposal is the best proposal and the best solution for the customer. There has to be specific key messages about how we are going to meet a specific requirement, or how capable are we to meet a specific requirement of the customer. Now these things actually get embedded in your storyboard. So when you are writing your storyboard, when you're designing your storyboard, you should push this pointers within your storyboard, that okay, this part. And typically people ask me like, do we have to write the proposal storyboard in PowerPoint or in slide format? No, not necessarily. You can create a proposal storyboard template and fill that template, saying that okay, this is the section, this is the objectives of this section, this is what we need to present in this section, how we will position, this is going to be our key message, this is going to be our winning message, this is going to be the discriminators. All these will come in your storyboard. Now, and as I said, like, you need to decide upon which sections of the proposal require a storyboarding. All sections of the proposal may not require storyboarding. Sections which can be replaced with boilerplate text should be replaced with boilerplate text, and of course, you can contextualize that boilerplate information which you are providing as per this specific particular customer. And remaining other sections where you have to give a strategic response based on some objectives of the based on the objectives of that particular section of the customer, you need to create a storyboard there. And you can always use the storyboard as a management tool, because your storyboard will tell that okay, this storyboard is being assigned to this particular proposal writer, this storyboard is addressing to this particular evaluation criteria, this storyboard is for this for showing our this particular strength, we are using this storyboard, or for showing our understanding of the customer's specific requirements and business drivers and expectations, this storyboard is handling that. So you can use your proposal storyboard as a management tool, and you can assign the proposal storyboards to the proposal team members to develop the content of the proposal. So your proposal storyboard actually becomes a guideline or a reference model or a reference document for your proposal writers, and they can write. It becomes easier for them. And the most biggest thing what you get is that if you have created the proposal storyboard, you know what is the sequence of the storyboards, and you can categorize, you can arrange those sequences. And since within the storyboard also the information is being provided in a structured manner, in a sequence manner, all the content of your proposal looks like they have been written by a single person and not by multiple people, and your proposal is not jerky, what I call, like feeling like that the proposal has been written by five different people with five different thoughts. So it makes very easy for you to integrate the content of the proposal. It makes the very easy for the evaluator also to read through and assess the proposal. So that's all about proposal storyboard development. Let's get into the next slide, which is basically the compliance checklist development. Just give a moment to me. Okay. Now, compliance checklist development. Now, why do we need a compliance checklist development? We have discussed this earlier that customers, they set out different criterias for selecting a vendor, which they state in their evaluation criteria. And the evaluation criteria is not only about the functional or the technical requirement. There are many evaluation criterias which are related to about the organization, about the capabilities of the organization, about the financial strength of the organization. Now, these requirements are stated saying that only vendors who comply with these requirements, with these certifications, with these capabilities are allowed to bid for this opportunity. Now, this is also a way for the customer to restrict the number of evaluators and select the number of contractors responding to that bid, and only having the selected and the best who meet those criteria for the bid to be invited or to respond to that opportunity, so that they don't have to evaluate hundreds of proposals for one opportunity. Rather, they can invite 30 or 50 or 20 proposals and select the best out of that, because evaluating a proposal is also a investment from the customer side, because they have to employ people to read through the proposals, assess the proposal, come out with their suggestions, and it's a time and resource intensive job to do for the customer. So to reduce that, they put in certain criterias which become mandatory, and those are criterias are basically the compliance requirement. That is, you have to comply with those requirements. Now, how do you identify the compliances, and how do you uh, see that you meet all the compliances? For that, we do something, whatever develop something what we call as the compliance checklist. Now, to develop this compliance checklist, first thing we need to do is basically to assess the evaluation and the weighting criteria of the bid. The customer specifies in his evaluation criteria and the weighting that, okay, these are the vendors who can do that. They may give you some exceptions also, but they specifically say that, okay, these are the criterias which you need to meet. Now, it is very important that you understand those criterias, as well as you understand the weightage given to that, because that understanding gives you the feel of what is important for the customer, what is he expecting out of this bid. Half of the times, if the criterias are specific and very pointed, you will be actually able to understand the strategy behind the customer's procurement. Like, why is this customer procuring these services or this particular solution? What is the outcome expected from this from this procurement? Remember one thing, customer actually, when the customer procures a solution or a service, he is not just procuring that solution or the service for the heck of it. he is procuring that for meeting a business outcome, and he is equally responsible for doing that. The organization has empowered him with a a decision making authority or decision making power to buy something which meets a specific business requirements and delivers a business value to the business, to the customer. So it is the customer's it is the responsibility of the evaluator to see that he is getting the right value out of a bid, and that for doing that they state that very clearly and in the evaluation criteria. Second thing in the compliance checklist is that do not do anything which is going to be absolutely new or absolutely different from what the customer is asking for. So at the proposal stage, if you are in the proposal stage, then exactly respond back the way your solution as a position the solution the way you want or the way you expect the customer to do, rather than giving him a new solution or a new thought itself. If you have to give a new thought or new solution which is different from what the customer is thinking, and that is going to benefit the customer more rather than what the customer is currently looking for, you should do it at a capture phase. You should not do that at a proposal stage, because by that time you have actually crossed that particular timelines. So at a proposal stage, if you are proposing something, it has to be in line with the prospect. It should not be radically different or from the customer. The customer is asking you to manage services within his data center. At a proposal stage, you should not go out and tell them that, okay, I will manage your services, but I am proposing you that you abandon your proper data center and move all your applications to the cloud, and I will manage it on the cloud. Now the customer is not prepared for it, he has not thought about it, and he will the only thing is there they say is that, okay, this guy is saying something but it is not in line with this opportunity, so let us knock it off for the moment, or let us keep him on the shelf for the moment, and your proposal goes on the shelf. So be very careful. Some proposal strategists say that we should propose innovation in our proposal, but innovation, if you have to propose in your proposal, propose it before the proposal, not during the proposal. That's the only thing I can say at this on this. Prepare a compliance checklist for all formal and informal bid requests. Typically, in formal bid requests, you will get the compliance checklist with the bid. The bid will say that customers should have minimum this financial turnover for this last 3 years, or customer should be a ISO 9000 or a CMMI level 5 certified, or the customer should have minimum 50 resources within the demographic area of the customer. The contractor should have 50 resources working in projects within in that particular domain. So there can be different types of compliances. So identify all those compliances in the formal bid. In case of an informal bid, you can still prepare compliances and validate it with your customer. That is that you for your situation, for in your situation or in your solution, the best solution can be, say suppose the customer is asking for a data security data security engagement or data security proposal, and customer has not laid down any compliance requirement. Now you can actually influence the customer by saying that to manage the data security of your organization, the best companies should be actually BS 207799 or whatever standards are followed for data security, those compliant with those situations. So in a way, actually you are restricting competition also by putting in a compliance. So try to put in a, it is not that the customer always puts a compliance requirement. If you are involved in the capture stage, if you are influencing the customer to write the RFP, you can push some unique compliances, some compliances which you are unique, and you can show the value of that compliance to the customer and include that in the RFP. Because if it is there in the RFP, then it will, what it will do is that it will negate a couple of people in from the competition because they do not meet that compliance requirement. At the same time, a compliance requirement is also an indication to identify whether the RFP is wired or not, or the RFP is already influenced by somebody else, some other vendor or not. Because if you find a compliance requirement which is not relevant to this particular opportunity or this particular project, you can very easily make that somebody has tried to push in or plug in a compliance requirement to check the competition out. So you need to see that where the compliance is coming from and how what is the intent of that particular compliance, and you need to prepare a compliance checklist for all formal as well as informally solicited bids. Now, having a compliance requirement actually also leads you to prepare another document which is called the response matrix. Because if you are preparing the compliance requirements, there are specific requirements which are there, and you can assign those requirements to a specific person in the organization or the proposal in the proposal team, and look for that particular response from him. Now that becomes basically your response matrix. So you can know that okay, this compliance requirement will be met by this particular part of your solution or this feature of our solution, and this will be responded by this person, and this is the section in which this will be put in the proposal. Now that is basically what your response matrix is. And your response matrix is also helpful in a way, because your response matrix helps the evaluators to find the section in your proposal where you have actually responded, responded in your proposal. So a response matrix is also a way to guide the evaluator to the sections in which you have responded to the in the proposal. And you can always and it is always a good suggestion and is a good practice to use your response matrix as a first part within your after your TOC, to guide your evaluators where exactly you want to put your where you want to take them in response to for answering a particular question compliance requirement. Now there are certain requirements which you may not be meeting. There will be certain requirements which you are non-compliance with. Now you also need to find out strategies for how do you address them. It should not be that only there is one non-compliance requirement which you are not meeting, but for that reason you should declare this bid to be a no bid. You can always give the customer an option. If the customer say supposedly asks that uh, that you need to have a project office or a project location within the customer demographic area where the customer is based for providing the services, only those are big. Now there are two senses you can make out of it. One sense is that there is somebody in this competition who already has that, and he has influenced the customer to include it to restrict others who are outside that demographic area. So it is sometimes somebody has tried to wire the RFP. The same time you can counteract it, that although I do not have a presence in this demography from where the customer where you are wanting this service, but I can commit that if I am given this opportunity within 3 weeks, within 6 weeks, I will start a project office and all the services would be provided to you from the local project office in the demography. So even though you are not compliant to it, but still you are making a commitment to comply. Now that commitment to comply actually at times helps the customer to select you as, and all your other offerings are more competitive, better than the competition. The customer always can change that compliance statement and say that okay fine, since you have committed, we are giving you an opportunity. So you have to plan strategies and define strategies and plan alternative courses of action to accommodate even the non-compliance. And finally, as I said, that evaluators look for non-compliances to reject the bids so that they can have only a few bids which are fully compliant to evaluate and find the best solution. So in a large bid opportunity, in a bid opportunity where there has been a large number of responses, proposal responses or bid submissions, in that case the first thing the evaluators do or the administrative evaluators do is that they will reject the bid which is not compliant. So it is very imperative and very important for as a bid manager to see that you are monitoring the bid compliance of the bid throughout the entire proposal. So compliance and compliance checklist development actually leads you to several documents like the requirements matrix, the response matrix, and your compliance checklist document. And you can use these documents in different parts of your proposal development. Okay. So moving to the next slide, the outline development. Now, outline development is basically the developing the structure of the proposal, that how your proposal is going to look like, how your proposal, how the information within your proposal is going to be arranged. And remember, the proposal outline has to be such that it is easily navigable and it is easily searchable. That is, evaluators, they can find out very easily the specific information they are looking for, and they should, if they are going in a sequence, then they should be able to find out what is the next sequence which is coming out in the proposal. So the proposal outline development focuses on the structure and the searchability of the information, the accessibility of the information, and the navigation of the information within the proposal. The outline of the proposal is nothing but the table of content of your proposal. Now, to develop the outline of your proposal, always keep the evaluator in mind. Your focus should be based on the guidelines provided in the RFP. Don't try to innovate something if the proposal guideline, if the RFP document has already given you a proposal outline. You can do the innovation at a bottom level, but not at the level of the proposal outline. To prepare a proposal outline, prepare the top level outline, and the top level outline basically should be the topical outline. It should state what topics are you actually addressing in your proposal, the high level topics which you are addressing. And for this, follow the customers provided proposal guidelines. The customer should have provided some numbering system, follow the same numbering system. If they are using Roman numbering system, use the Roman numbering. If they are using the alpha numbering system or a alphanumeric numbering system, follow the alphanumeric system. And also in the same order as that provided by the customer. In some proposals, you will see executive summary as a part of the proposal outline. In some, you will see executive summary is not there. If this executive summary is not there, it does not mean that you should not write the executive summary. You should write the executive summary but exclude it from the proposal outline. Your proposal outline should start with your table of content and in the order provided in the RFP by the customer. So the best way to write a proposal outline or develop a proposal outline is to mimic the outline provided by the customer. In case the customer has not provided the RFP, in the RFP has not provided the outline, there are two ways, and depending on the type of the RFP, if that proposal is a sort of a question answer proposal, follow the same question answer pattern of the RFP. Take all the questions in that RFP and in that sequence answer the questions. Follow that as a outline, the question answers as a outline. In case even if it is not a question answer based RFP, and still the customer has not given you the proposal outline, try to see the evaluation criteria and organize the proposal outline as per the evaluation criteria or the evaluation criteria weightages. So whatever you think has the customer has more weightage or more important for the customer, define that and then explode it at the other levels. And in case it is an unsolicited bid, that is a customer, you are the customer has not come out with a RFP and you are giving a proposal to the customer, create the proposal outline based on the importance of your solution to the customer and validate it with the customer. It is always important that you validate it with your sales team as well as with your customer, that this is all the information what you are going to need to make a decision, and this is the I believe that this is the importance of the information which you need, and this is how I am going to respond, and ask them that is there anything else you want to get added to this. And if they don't come back, then you follow the order as per their priority, what you think is their priority, and in a logical sequence. So basically, your proposal outline first should be the topical outline, that is this names of the topics which you are putting in your proposal, and below that you can bring in the structure of the headings which you are proposing. The heading should be, the section heading should be telegraphic, that is they should be brief and as they should mimic with the RFP outline. Below that you can actually use more descriptive headings. They may not be levels at levels, but you can use a descriptive header for a particular section and a subsection on your proposal, and then that can become roll up to your section level, and all the sections can roll up to a topic level, and all the topics should roll up to your proposal level. Now that is how basically the outline should look like. You should assign and allocate all your proposal requirements within the topical outline, and this is also an opportunity where you can identify which all topics can be replaced by the boilerplate information which you have. Now if the customer is asking for customer information, and within the customer information they're asking for standard information like your financial performance, your geographic spread, your resource capabilities. Now these are sections which can or you say you will see topics like company background. Now these are the sections which can go into the company background topic, and these are boilerplate requirements which can go in there. But if it is asking for a specific solution or a specific section, then it has to be addressed in the manner it has been asked in the RFP, and you have to assign that to the specific person who can respond to it. So all your topic sections, so you can use your proposal outline to allocate the proposal sections to different team members in the proposal team, and use their inputs to write the proposal. You should use informative headings at section levels below those specified by the proposal. So as I said, if your proposal outline provided in the RFP document has got a section heading, use that section heading. You should not use anything else other than that. Use that section heading. But below that section heading, you can use a more informative title, and the informative title is like which describes in a short or in a summary of what follows the title. There are proposals you will see in which there are page restrictions given, that 150 pages, the proposal should not exceed 150 pages, and there are some 10 topics in that proposal. Now Does it mean that you will allocate 15 pages to each topic? Not necessarily. You can assign the number of pages depending on the importance of the topic to the prospect. If you feel that, and also that you can understand that from the evaluation criteria. If you see that a particular topic has a high evaluation weightage score compared to another topic, you can always allocate more number of pages to that particular topic. So your arrangement of the number or the allocation of the pages to a particular topic should depend on the importance of the topic to the prospect, and not about, I have seen people writing 15 pages, 20 pages about the company, whereas the solution to the proposal is only 10 pages or 15 pages. Is the company is the customer interested in buying your company or your solution? It is obviously interested in buying the solution. So the more importance has to go to the solution rather than about your company. Customer may have asked you about your company, but he is interested in buying or procuring your services or your solutions. So more importance has to definitely go into that. And typically we believe that the more we write, the more marks we'll get. No, the more we write, the more this you misaligned the customer. There is a chance of misalignment with the entire proposal as well as the proposal evaluator, because what you are writing may not be of any interest or a specific interest to the evaluator, and he may say, why is he giving me all this information, and he may get misaligned with what exactly you are saying. So be very specific and pointed in what information you want to say in your proposals. And this is the proposal outline is the part where you can actually control that part. Now in case of unsolicited proposals, as I said, create a draft proposal outline and share it with your customer and get his recurrence or get their recurrence on it, concurrence on it, that yes, this is exactly what we want. If not, what this is also the information, additional information which we need. Now that helps you in making your proposal outline for an unsolicited RFP. You should always use your proposal outline and annotate them as a guideline for your proposal writers, because, and you can annotate them based on your win strategy, based on your proposal strategy, on what you exactly want to write in that particular section, what is the key message which should come out of that proposal section, what should be the theme of that particular proposal section, what should be the proof points given out in that particular proposal section. So you can annotate this so that when the proposal writer or the developer who is putting that content knows what all points he needs to address, and he has the storyboard with him also, so he knows in what sequence it has to happen. Now that, if you can, when you do that, your proposal story and the proposal content becomes very seamless, or else it will look like content written by someone for some other purpose and totally aligned or misaligned with actually the customer's requirements. You can we talked about the proposal responsibility matrix when we were talking about the compliance checklist. Your proposal responsibility matrix can be prepared or extended from that compliance matrix by assigning the proposal outline development, because in the outline you are developing, you are assigning people who are going to write that particular section. So you can extend your outline as your proposal responsibility matrix, and you can assign people, you can assign them due dates, you can assign reviewers to that particular proposal section, and that becomes your proposal responsibility matrix. There are times when you will find that you may have to deviate from the proposals guidelines which are provided. There are outline guidelines which are provided. Now if you do so, you should always inform the customer about why you are deviating from that guideline which is proposed, and that should be of a value to the customer. It should not be that because you do not have something, you are deviating from that. You should deviate from the proposal outline only if you feel that you are providing a additional value to the customer by deviating from the proposal outline. But whatever may be the reason for your deviation from the proposal outline, you should always inform the customer and as a part of your proposal. So that's all about the outline development. Now let us look at some of the questions which we have. Sorry. So the questions which we have here is like, in a complex technical section, which of the following eases the evaluation? Now this is a part of your proposal outline. Now in your proposal outline, in a particular section, how do you organize your section? Should it be the summary of the section, should it be the introduction of the section, should it be detail and then should it be the conclusion, or should it be the introduction, detail and the summary, or should it be the summary, detail and the conclusion, and should it be the outline of the problem, discussion and the solution? Now the best practice says that your proposal outline, specifically for a section, actually should detail the summary, detail and the conclusion, because your section's objective is to meet a specific objective. So in the summary you say that okay, you understand this is what is the purpose of this section, what is the purpose information asked by the customer, this is the detail of that information, whether it is the solution, whether it is your capability, whatever it is, and then the conclusion that why the solution or the capability or whatever you have stated in the detail not only matches to the expectation or the summary of the requirements of that particular section, but also discriminates and distinguishes itself from the others in the competition. So the summary, detail, conclusion way is the right way as per the best practice of in proposal outlining. The next question, when planning an outline of a proposal, we must choose the number of pages based on, okay, that's very specific. It should be based on the importance of the subject to the customer. It should not be that what I said, our capability in that area. We have a huge capability, so we will write a huge number of pages. Not necessary. It has to be in the importance of to the subject matter of the customer. Recommended ways to how your proposal is organized include what? Okay, okay. How do you organize your how do you include show the evaluators on how your proposal is organized? Your requirements matrix is a way, or your compliance matrix is a way, or is it the list of tables, figures and graphics, or is it the theme statements? It is basically the requirements matrix, because this requirements matrix shows where or what are the different categories of the requirements of the customer. This is also because the requirements matrix relates you to the proposal response matrix, and requirements matrix you address each section and where each section, in which section that particular requirement has been addressed. So it helps the evaluator to actually point to that particular section and say that okay, this is the section in which this particular requirement has been addressed. Which of these documents is not similar to a compliance checklist? Requirements matrix is similar to a compliance checklist because it is from the compliance checklist and where you come out with. Proposal responsibility matrix is also similar to a compliance checklist. Response matrix is similar. uh, Invitation to tender definitely is the document which is not similar to the to the compliance checklist. So this is the type of questions actually typically you will see in the test. So let's do one thing now. I think we have got a couple of questions. Let me understand address those questions which we have received, and then we can address have a discussions. You can unmute your mics now, and you can all have a discussion. Okay, Rakesh, what are the components of an executive summary or the flow of the executive summary? Okay, this is a very strategic decision which you need to take, because in an executive summary, when you are talking to when you are positioning yourself with the top management, or you are summarizing your proposal, you should first try to align the vision of both the organizations, because at a CEO level or a COO level, it is more important to understand that, do you understand the vision I have, and do you understand the objectives of this particular engagement which is going to enable my vision. A CEO or a CXO level people, they work for the enabling of the vision and achieving the business goals and objectives. For them, it is very important to understand whether you have understood the vision or not, and you how aligned is your solution or your capabilities with their vision. So the vision alignment is the first thing which you need to actually see when you are identify when you are developing your executive summary. The next thing you need to see is that since you have a vision and also you have identified that this is your objectives or goals, or this is what you need, or your procurement, we understand that you how these needs are going to enable your vision. So you basically say that you are complying with their requirements, as well as you have a way of what to propose, what you are proposing to enable those requirements. So basically you summarize your solution over here. The third thing you need to show is your capabilities, that why are you the only person, and why are you capable, and what experience you have. So you state your capability statement and your experience. And the last is basically the distinction or the discriminators, where you show that how why you are the only best solution provider, or the best capability best vendor with the best capabilities to deliver that vision. So that is how your sequence has to be. Your sequence has to be: first is the vision alignment, then your solution alignment, then your capability alignment, and then your discriminators and your uh, features features above your competition. That is exactly how your executive summary should be organized, and that is how I have seen it to be organized. I have seen the best of the executive summaries written. Okay, the next,
Abhijit,
does that answer your question, Rakesh?
hello.
Okay. Yeah. Any
Abhijit,
other thought? Anybody else has any other thought? Salman, Rahul, anybody else you want to share anything? Please do feel free to share your thoughts.
Yeah, Abhijit ji, I have a small question. Is it right practice to include the pricing, the team structure, and the brief of the project plan, the timelines within the executive summary?
Yes, I have seen some. I have seen some, but if the proposal has said that you should not include the include pricing in any other section other than the commercial section, then do not include it. But if the proposal has not said that, and you are also you see, it all depends on if you know who are the people who are going to read the executive summary. Now if you know that, yes, these, and also the criteria of selecting, like if you say that my proposal is going to be selected if it is the most cost competitive, if you have understood that, and based on that you want to set a benchmark in the mind of the executive level, that your cost should not actually go beyond that, you can actually state that it is a strategic decision. But if you do not, and you know that you are going to be the most cost competitive, no one else is going to beat you on the cost, then you should put that. But if you are not, then actually you should not, because you don't know who is going to bid. You said that my cost is going to be this, my cost is going to be a for $2 million USD for this, and then somebody else comes and says that okay, I have understood what your requirement, only thing you require all the things you requirement we can deliver to you is for $500,000. Now what happens? You are totally gone. They don't even read in more details of, because remember cost, there are two types of proposals. There are two types of opportunities. One in which cost is seen as a independent variable. Cost, what we call as the cost as a independent variable. In that, it is the L1 who is going to win the order. Whatever else provided they meet the technical requirements. That is, they meet the technical requirements and the lowest cost, they are the ones who has to be ordered. But there are there will be opportunities, and many opportunities in which cost is also only one of the factors of deciding the best proposal. In that case, even if your cost is more but your value provided by your proposal is much higher than that of your competitors, you will get selected. Now, in that case, cost is not the independent variable. A cost is a variable of your entire evaluation criteria. In that case, you do not need to include, you should not include your cost in your executive summary. Your team structure, you do not need to include your team structure, but you can always include the strength of your team, that this is the team. If you suppose you are saying that I am going to put a committed team of a account manager or a relationship manager for this engagement, or I am going to set up a gold team for a executive for a CEO to CEO review at a particular at different milestone levels, then you should put it out in the executive summary. But you do not need to give your project organization structure that I am going to put 35 people or 40 people for this project and this is how the hierarchy of the people is going to be. That does not make the sense for the executive summary. Does that answer your question, Rakesh? Rahul?
Yeah, yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay, got it. Okay, now we have got some more questions. Okay, yeah, okay, I have for For a proposal to be developed for a new account prospect, should we include the section that detail about your organization? Yes, you should do that, but always try to keep it at the end of the RFP. Keep it as an annexure. Don't make your proposal a company brochure. Okay, use it, but at the end of it refer that for more details in your we have included our company information and the end of the, because always keep the customer in mind. The customer is buying a solution for his problems, he is not buying your company. Okay, typically how many pages should executive summary be written with? Your executive summary should not exceed more than 4 pages, at least 4 pages. It, try to brief it, and always try to arrange your executive summary with most quantified data, quantified information, and informative headings. Don't make it a verbose document of paragraphs. Even if you are putting paragraphs, put headings over those paragraphs to give the opportunity to the executive who is reading it, whether he wants to read that or whether that information is relevant for him or not. Many people say that should we use graphics in executive summary? Feel free to use graphics. People love graphics. People love visuals. People want to see.
Abhijit, it's agreed on the point that executives are going to read the executive summary. The only point which one of the
Rahul, your voice is very low. Can you little speak a little louder? Or
sure. Can you hear me now?
yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I was talking about the executive summary. The language should be, I mean, a business language, or it should also capture technical jargons and details in the
No,
executive summary.
executive summary should be a business language. Executive summary should be. See, I will tell you, Rahul, and I can understand where you're coming from. There are RFPs and large government RFPs in which there are like different proposal volumes. Okay, now there will be a technical volume, there will be an administrative volume, there will be a commercial volume. Now it is also a good practice that each volume has its own executive summary. Okay. Now, in case your executive summary of a technical volume, you are submitting an executive summary of a technical volume, in that case, you can use technology terminals. But if your entire proposal is one single proposal and you are writing an executive summary, in that case, your maximum has to be the business language. Avoid technical jargons. You cannot expect your CEO to understand how a router works in a data center. Okay, so try to bring in more of capability, try to more of business sense, because a customer is buying a business value. The customer is paying for the business value and he expects business returns out of it. So the executive summary should address more of business rather than that of technology. The technology section, your solution is there, where you can use as much as technology you want to showcase, right?
Sure, understood. Thank you.
Okay. Can we defer a proposal RFP response flow shared by government customer in the tender RFP and add an executive summary? Yes, you can do that. You can do that. And at times, what we can do is that you also write a covering note. So in your covering note, you can always say that we have summarized our proposal in other executive summary, and you can put it that. And you can, only thing is that you should put it before your TOC and not after your TOC, because if you begin it in your TOC, it becomes a part of your proposal structure outline. But if you keep the executive summary outside the proposal structure, before the TOC, it is not counted as a part of your proposal structure. So it limits you from the number of pages also. So if there is a page restriction, then your executive summary pages are not counted in that. Okay.
Yeah.
The advantages, differentiators, value add should be put together at one place, or they should be attached with their respective storyboards. They should be attached with their respective storyboards. If you are writing a section, that section should address the advantages, differentiators, and value adds for that particular section. You should you can summarize them. You can summarize them, like we say, why this company, why we are the best. In that you can summarize it. But again, if you have to reiterate, don't mind reiterating it again in your sections. So if you have to reiterate in your sections, you should have them in your storyboards, right? Okay. In quality come cost based selections based evaluation, what if the proposal flow outline shared within the tender document doesn't capture which are the given points based in the evaluation criteria? Should we include it in your outline or own, or should we keep it in a matrix tabular structure separately? You should always include it in your proposal outline. Proposal outline gives you three or two or three levels, but within that level, remember I said that below a section you can always have your own subsection, and you can put your you can put your heading of that subsection. If you feel that there is a evaluation criteria which is not included in the proposal outline, find out the most relevant section, and in that section highlight that area and say that this is how we also deliver this and meet the evaluation criteria. Feel free to write that. In that case, there is nobody will, as long as it is not occupying remember, as long as it is not occupying a level number given by the proposal outline of the customer, you are free to write that section. Do not mix it up with a level number provided by the outline of the customer, but you can add, do not add a level number to it, but you can add it as a separate paragraph and highlight it with a heading related to the evaluation criteria. So you can do that, and you should actually do that, because that is the only way you can see that you are meeting all the evaluation criteria and you are scoring in the evaluation criteria. Can we add annexures to our proposal to detail the aspects which are important from a requirement standpoint, but not the core requirement as additional information? Yes, you can, you should do that. And you can summarize your annexure also within your proposal, that this is where also we have done that, and we have summarized and we have detailed it in your, in the annexure. You can put other proof points in the annexure also. Annexures are free, you can free to add annexures, unless there is a total. Now there is another risk to it here. The risk is that if the customer is asking for a electronic submission, that is, you have to upload the file, and the customer specifies that the file upload should not be more than 2 MB or 3 MB, and your main proposal content is 1.8 MB, and you are limited or to add only this. So if you do not have those sort of limits, feel free to ask add annexures. If it is an electronic submission, I have seen yeah, specifically in commercial bids, not in government bids, I have seen and I have done it also, that I created a specific website or a restricted website or a secure website, and put the documents in that and shared that link with the customer, that if you need more information about this, you can actually have this information from these links. And I've seen people coming back to those links and getting those information, so that helps also.
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Okay. uh, yes, I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear it. Is it a problem at my end? I do not know. uh, can you please type, who was that? Can you please type the question? So if you see, uh, the proposal outline actually becomes your should be actually supplemented by your strategy, and your proposal storyboard should actually give the meat and flesh for your entire proposal. And when you are validating your proposal, you should actually validate it based on your outline first. We call like your, when you do your proposal review, you call it a vertical review, and then there's a horizontal review. The vertical review is to see that your proposal has all the content as per the proposal outline, as per the TOC. And the and the horizontal review is that every section meets the objective of that particular section, has the content specific to the section, as and meets the storyboard criteria. So you do, so you basically, your proposal outline helps in your or the proposal outline helps in your vertical review, whereas your storyboard helps in your horizontal review of the proposal. And you keep this in mind, that to do a horizontal review and a vertical review, first do the vertical review and then do the horizontal review. Any more questions from anyone? I think that was a interesting session today, and thanks everyone. We will shortly see you in the next session, and the next session will be on the proposal management. and we will see how to manage the entire proposal life cycle in that. Meanwhile, you can go through the proposal best practices from the APMP guide. And in case you have any other questions related to the discussions which we had and today's session, please feel free to post them on the LinkedIn. Thanks once again, and see you all in the next session. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Abhijit, for such an informative
Thank you.
session.
Bye.